let's just start with the first slide. At first, I would like to introduce you basic conditions and framework for the development of SMR in the Czech Republic. Just now, the Czech government is working on the updated state energy consumptions, and the main goal is to find a solution how to overlap the gap between the production capacity for electricity and the increasing consumption. The consumption is expected to increase by 40 terawatts hour by the year 2050. And it's not easy to find a solution of this because on one side, we expect a massive coal phase out. It is expected that by the end of 2040s, the Czech Republic will lose about 10 gigawatts of installed capacity in coal. And we have to find another sources. One transmission sources is naturally gas, but there are many challenges of using gas. At first, it's a fossil fuel, and the second challenge is, or not so very good thing, is that there are some issues with security of supply of gas. And but nevertheless, the Czech Republic and the Czech government would like to use the gas as a transition fuel for next 10-15 years, but we need to develop and implement something more. And the SMR and the nuclear as a whole should be the solution. So that's mean that at the end of this year, the Czech government should pass the new state energy conceptions, and which will be based on renewable sources and nuclear, not just SMR, but also large-scale nuclear units. It's not a completely new sector in the Czech Republic. Just now, we have operating 6 nuclear units on 2 sites. One site is MPP Temelín. The second site, nuclear site, is MPP Dukovany. And that's why we have an advantage, because there are lots of companies just now helping to operate, helping to maintain these two nuclear power plants. And also these companies used to produce many components for construction of nuclear power plants in the Czech Republic and abroad in the past. So we have a quite good industrial basis for implementation of a new project. Our companies are quite ready to become a part of the supply chain of any SMR or a nuclear technology vendor. And we have also quite a good education and research basis in the Czech Republic. We have several universities with the nuclear programs and produce quite enough engineers for this moment, but definitely not enough engineers and not enough experts for the future. So this is advantages at this moment, at the beginning of the new nuclear build, but it's definitely a challenge how to strengthen this nuclear program and this nuclear education in the Czech Republic for the future years. So I would like to present you just now activities in the SMR field on 3 levels. The first one is the government level, the second one is the regulatory level, and the third one is commercial level, let's say. So on the governmental level, the issue of SMR is quite new. The Czech government started at first to work on the future development of SMR at the end of 2021. So, during last year, the Ministry of Industry and Trade, which is responsible for all the energy issues and especially for the nuclear energy issues, established a working group and invited to this working group all the major stakeholders. I mean, many ministries participated in the working group, professional associations, and unions, several companies, research centers, and also the regional governments was invited to participate, because it's very important to speak with the regional governments and regional governments on the government level. And it's not easy sometimes to persuade from the governmental level to the governor of the concrete region that it would be fine to deploy a new SMR, a new nuclear project in the concrete region. Everybody wants to have a new sources for generation electricity, but nobody wants to have in his own backyard. So yeah, it's the same everywhere, I think. So last year, the ministry discussed very intensively with all the stakeholders in the Czech Republic, and the result of these discussions was preparation of the Czech SMR roadmap. It's some 60 pages document, very strategic one, and very first one regarding the SMR. So that's mean the ministry wants to introduce SMR to the public, and the main goal was to identify all the benefits that the Czech Republic could have from implementation of SMR project. This Czech SMR roadmap was approved last week. So it's a first success, 1 year of preparation, and then finally the special government committee approved this document. And the next step should be approval of the government itself, not just approved by the committee, but the government itself. And the document includes also some parts that I can call the action plan. So the ministry identified the next steps, identified the problematic issues, and identified some measures for the future development of SMR sector. I put into my slide 4 main points from this action plan. First, update of the legislations. I will speak about this a bit later on. The main goal of update of the legislation is simplification of the permitting procedure. Then another very sensitive issue is preparation of tools for public support. There is quite intensive discussions on the government level if SMR needs some public support or not. It's evident that large-scale units are not just a private commercial project, and a large-scale unit needs some support for the public sources. But there is no agreement within the Czech government that if SMR needs the same support like the large-scale units. So it's quite interesting discussion just now. And most experts in the Czech Republic considered that some kind of public support is needed, especially for the first pilot project. So another issue is ensuring SMR site. As I said, we have two nuclear sites, current nuclear sites, at the Czech Republic in this moment. And if we speak about the first Czech SMR projects, we speak about the project deployed at these sites for the first phase at the minimum. For the second phase, the plan is to deploy the SMR project on the current coal power plant sites, but there are many question marks on that, and the screening of these sites, the preparation of these sites, and especially preparation of the legislation for transforming the non-nuclear sites into the nuclear sites seems to be quite challenging. And our State Office for Nuclear Safety is very active in this work, but it takes some time. So I will show you as well on other slides, but for the first phase, we plan to deploy first pilot project at the current nuclear site at mid-2030s, and deployed first SMR project on non-nuclear sites at the end of 2030s. So maybe one important point at the end of this slide. There is no ambitions at the moment of the Czech government to select any concrete nuclear or SMR technology on the government level. It should be up to the consumer which SMR vendors will be chosen for implementation of the project. So activities on the regulatory level, on the domestic level, the main issue or the main goal is changing of the Czech nuclear legislation. The main legislation is the Atomic Act, Czech Atomic Act, and there are several related regulations that are more specific, more detailed, and more technical one than the General Atomic Act. As I said, we are operating 6 large-scale nuclear units based on the Russian technology VVR, and that means that the old legislation is also based on this Russian technology. Just now, the approach of the nuclear regulatory body and the approach of the legislation to the nuclear safety is that the legislation set some very detailed parameters that are based on this old Russian technology, and anybody who wants to implement the nuclear project should meet these technical parameters, which is impossible because we don't plan to build up the Russian technology just now. So the main goal is to change this approach, change let's say the descriptive approach into a goal-oriented approach. So that means that the Office of the Nuclear Safety should set some standards, general standards of the safety and security, and it will be up to the technology supplier or technology vendor to prove that the technology is safe and that the technology is able to meet all that standards, general standards. So the Atomic Act should be updated hopefully at the end of this year, and the related regulation should be updated at the end of the next year. So it's lots of work, but it's on a good way, and from the legally and regulatory point of view, hopefully the Czech Republic will be ready for implementation of SMR project at the beginning of 2025. There is also one specific point, and it's up to the approach of the concrete nuclear regulatory body of each country, how to approach to the development of SMR and nuclear projects. There is quite huge pressure on the European level to make some standards and common standards and to coordinate the licensing procedure on the European level, which definitely could help to speed up the process of the implementation. This is not the position of the Czech regulatory body. The Czech regulatory body wants to preserve the autonomy and wants to preserve the finger on the button, green line button, and wants to be the final office that will approve or not approve the implementation of the project. So our regulatory body can imagine some coordinated approach, but it's not the case of the first SMR project. It could be the case of the next phase of implementation of SMR technologies, and especially when any customer or any investor would like to implement a fleet approach. This could be much more easier for nuclear regulatory body to assess all the fleet as one project. But if we will go one unit by one unit, our regulatory body wants to have all the licensing process under the control, and doesn't want to issue just one license for one technology and that's it. So the goal is to license each project. So on the international level, our State Office for Nuclear Safety is active on the European platform. The coordination of the licensing procedure is on the way. There are many meetings in Europe, but me personally, I don't believe that we can have some common European rules for licensing in the next few years. It's a long run, let's say. But our regulatory body is very actively participating in a, let's say, expert group with other regulatory bodies from other countries. On the picture is cooperation with French ASN and Finnish STUK. This picture was already presented by the colleague from EDF. But our regulator is also active towards the US NRC, the Canadian regulatory body, and the British regulatory body. So the goal is to gather as much as possible information regarding the SMR designs before the licensing process starts. And it's also about the personal capacities of the regulatory body, because these capacities are limited, and the regulatory body wants to participate on pre-assessment of the designs that have the better chance to be implemented in the Czech Republic. So it's not open for everybody. It's not open for all the designs, but the most developed one at this moment. So activities on the commercial level. In the Czech Republic, the situation is quite simple and quite different from the situation in Poland. We have one operator of current large-scale nuclear units. That's mostly state company ČEZ. I would say mostly, because the state owns some 70% shares in the ČEZ company. And this company is believed to be the first developer and first investor into SMR project in the Czech Republic. It's logical, because this company is expected to use the current size for deployment of the first project. As I already said, according to the strategy of the ČEZ company, the first project should be deployed at the MPP Temelín site in 2032. It's quite ambitious. It's quite ambitious, and it will depend on the development of large-scale units. Because just now, ČEZ tendering one new large-scale unit for another nuclear site, but it's possible that the government will decide to extend the tender and to implement 3 or 4 large-scale nuclear units. And in this case, the SMR program in the Czech Republic will be affected by these decisions. Because, frankly speaking, I'm not sure that we have sufficient capacities for simultaneous development of several large-scale units and in the same moment development of a massive SMR program. There are also another investors except for ČEZ, potential investors except for ČEZ into the SMRs. It's a private companies, mostly large energy or industrial entities that needs to generate electricity for their own electricity consumptions. But these companies have zero experience from the nuclear sector, and it's very difficult. The companies are not so large like the Polish companies, for example, like Orlen Synthos. And it would be very complicated for these companies to coordinate all the process, implementation of the project, coordinating the supply chains, operating, ensuring all the licensing and permitting procedure. And in this case, it will be very important if the SMR technology vendors will be able to provide these companies with some kinds of EPC contracts. And maybe then these private investors will need also some help with the operation. So some contracts or agreements with the SMR technology vendors and with third party that could operate these new SMR projects will be needed. It's not the case of ČEZ because ČEZ is able to ensure all these activities by their own capacities. These are seven SMR technology vendors that are active on the Czech market. The Czech Ministry of Industry and Trade, as well as ČEZ company, has already signed NDAs with all these seven companies. Some of these companies are, let's say, or seems to be more developed, or their project seems to be more developed and more mature than the others. But everything is open, and maybe, but as I said, it will depend on the development also in the large-scale nuclear units field. Maybe the ČEZ company will select or pre-select 2 or 3 technology vendors by the end of this year for the further negotiations about implementation of the first pilot project. So at the end, to sum up my presentations, there are several opportunities and several challenges for the development of the first SMR project in the Czech Republic. At first, the fast or potential fast implementation of reliable baseload and low carbon source is something which is very needed, and the government needs some sources like this to cover the future energy needs of the Czech Republic. The lower investment cost in comparison with large-scale nuclear projects, it's evident. It's a great advantages, especially now when the Czech government has to struggle with the budgetary issues. So there is a great potential for generation of heat and hydrogen from SMR project. This is something which is also mentioned in the Czech SMR roadmap, and this is something that the government really expects from the SMR projects, especially the generation of heat and usage the heat from SMR projects. As I already said, we have a quite good developed industrial basis in the Czech Republic, so the government wants to negotiate anyway with any SMR technology vendor some involvement of the Czech industry in the global supply chain for these vendors. And in case of ČEZ, there is also potential to offer the operating capacities of ČEZ for operation of the project, not just in the Czech Republic, but also abroad. Regarding these challenges, from my perspective, the biggest challenges will be the ability of the SMR technology vendors to prove that they are able to implement the project in time and in budget. If you look at the project on the project of large-scale nuclear units, all the projects are delayed, and there are huge budgetary or investment increase of any project. And it's nice that all the vendors just now promising to build the new power plant in 3 years. But I remember that Westinghouse and EDF and Rosatom in 2009, when they were offering the large-scale nuclear unit to the Czech Republic, also promised 36 months for building the large-scale unit. And then 52 months, and then it was evident that it's 8 to 10 years. So if the SMR's technology vendors really succeed and will be able to implement the power plant, the unit in this 3 years, promised 3 years, it would be a great advantages, and it could really change the market. From another challenges, I would underline another two, and especially the spent nuclear fuel management and storage of the spent nuclear fuel, because if not ČEZ, in the case of Czech Republic, if not ČEZ will be the investor to SMR, but some private companies, it could be very difficult for these private companies to manage this spent fuels cycle. And there is no rules in the Czech Republic just now how to do it. It's no rules for these private investors how to fulfill the criteria for the spent fuel management. And it could be very, very difficult from the investment perspective to ensure all this spent nuclear fuel management. Yeah, maybe I mentioned the last one, transportation of large-scale modules on the site, because it could be sometimes very difficult to transport these models to the site, and it needs lots of investments to improve the roads, to construct maybe some new bridges or something like that. And from the perspective of the private investor, it's also very, very costly to prepare the infrastructure for the transport. And it could be the additional costs for any investor that should be accounted in the final budget of the project. So these are the challenges, and let's see what will be the next. But the technology is very promising. In the Czech Republic, the government is very supportive to the new technology and is prepared to do the maximum to prepare the legislation, to prepare maybe some financial or investment tools to help the private investors to invest into the technology. And if everything will go well, we will see the first SMR project in 2032 in the Czech Republic. Yeah, okay. So that's everything. Thank you for your attention.